Ladies and gentlemen of today's classroom, welcome to the next round of classes in SkillSell. Today we'll be learning about interview positioning. So let's get into it. Let me quickly share the agenda. We start with the premise. We are going to talk about how your interviews are really evaluated. And secondly, we talk about how you can answer to the most 5 common questions. And thirdly, we'll teach you how to do mock interviews with a camera if you do not have friends, let's say. And at the end, we'll give you the key takeaways and we'll teach you how to prepare for any type of interviews, be it job interviews or be it university admissions interviews. We'll tell you how to prepare for all sorts of them. Let's get into it. There's one line that I would like to tell you, and it is that you are being read before you answer. The interview process starts before it starts. And I want you to keep that in your mind, at the back of your head. And the good news is, if you are, let's say, some sort of an average applicant, maybe you lack some technical skills, or maybe you are, in your opinion, a little bit incompetent compared to the strongest application tools, you might still win the room by your social skills, by your strategy. And that's what we are going to teach you today. We're going to teach you the strategies to win those who are stronger than you, who have better resumes than you, and compete with them and win the admission. And the good news is that the interviewers do not take hours, not days or months to formulate their decisions. It only takes them 5 or 15 minutes. And from your first ever impression, they will judge you. They are very skeptical of every applicant. They always keep one question at the back of their head, which is, can they do the job? Are they even interested in doing this job? Why are they here for? Are they here for money or for fame or what? What is driving them? There are a lot of behavioral questions that you will get asked, and we'll tell you how to prepare for each of them today. First, they want you to know that you're competent enough, that you're technically all right. And second, they want someone who will fit into their culture. You gotta be personable, all right? They don't want someone who is shy or excessively introverted. They want someone who can fit into their culture. For example, in investment banking, you will work 80 plus hours a week. That's a big amount of work to do, and you'll be spending more than half of your life with your colleagues. And when you apply for a job or an internship at an investment bank, you'll be asked lots of behavioral questions that will test whether you will fit into this hardworking culture or not. That is how serious it is. And we don't want to be scaring you out, but we want you to realize that that kind of person you are will matter, especially at the interview stage. And they want someone who's reliable, who has a better judgment, who has work ethics. So they will test it. They will definitely test it, especially at probation period. And whatever you say to them should tick one of these boxes. When they ask, tell me about yourself, what would you do? Would you tell your race or your birth date or your name or the country you come from? What would you tell? Think about it for a second. Before I disclose a presentation, think about it for a second and note your expected, the best versions, in your opinion, type of answers, all right? Right? Formulate any kind of question that you can think of right now, note it down, and I'll wait for it. You can pause the video too, and I will slowly disclose it. First, we have some options for you to choose from and to compare it to yours. First, would you tell a life story? So look at what you have written down, and it does that look like any type of life story? A version. Well, I was born in Tashkent. I have two brothers. I've always liked computers. B version. I'm a marketing student. I did an internship. I know Excel and Canva. C version. I'm a marketing student who transformed the club with a 1K followers account into 10K. And I'm here to do that kind of job for your brand. So obviously the C version is a banger. Why? Why it is? First, it does not tell the life story, which is cliche, which adds no dimension to your technicals. B version, it's just cliche. It's a resume resetting the whole resume. They already have had your CV from the first day you have applied. Why would they need you to repeating the same info? The main purpose of the interview is to get your CV confirmed, is to see the real person behind the paper. And if you come and say that you are a type of person that they look for and prove it to their face, now you got the point. So that's why. Tell a short, relevant story. Relevant, that's a keyword. Relevant story that will serve amazing, serve, make them think that you are a kind of fit. You will prove it throughout with your technicals and with your behavior. And I want you to prepare for any type of interviews by considering these 5 questions. First, tell me about yourself. The purpose of asking this question is to see whether an applicant is focused or not. When you ask, tell me about yourself question, a lot of students, a lot of applicants ramble. They really ramble. They don't know what they should talk about that because it's open-ended question, right? Sort of there it indicates that there are a lot of pools, a lot of buckets to jump into. That's why it lends itself to you so that it basically tells, hey, tell me anything about yourself. But the interviewer wants to hear something relevant. They are not that interested in knowing the type of family that you come from or anything that are not directly related to the job that you will be doing. Second, why you and why us? So why questions. These questions are asked to test whether you have done your research on the company you are applying to. So if you fail at these, you will never get the job or you will never get the admission at all. So that's why before getting into any type of interviews, first search for interviewer, who she is or he is, what does she like, do you have any connections with her or him, and search the company, look at their profitability, look at their culture, look at their values. For example, if you were to apply to an investment bank, Goldman Sachs, you better to be someone who likes the client's priorities. And Goldman Sachs have lots of priorities when it comes to working with clients. And one of them is to satisfy the client's needs, even it is at their own expense. So they prioritize clients' needs rather than their profits. They really support this insight throughout their culture, and they will definitely test it in the interview, whether you have researched it, you have read about it, you have asked about it from someone. And what is your greatest weakness? A lot of people think that I can share whatever I want. No, you better not to do it. And this question is meant to test the self-awareness. How well do you know yourself? A lot of people say that, well, I can talk, I can say I'm very introverted, I can't fit in. No, you can't. You cannot. That's a red flag. You just raised a red flag if you say that you cannot fit into the culture. But some people say that I can mention that I have autism. Well, I wouldn't say a medical condition would be a great weakness, but it's always, almost always better to share sort of your regrets. For example, what is your greatest weakness? Well, I have no appreciation for art. I've lots of friends who do, but I regret not learning it. Honestly, when somebody comes to me and says, "What type of art do you like?" I can't say a word. And that makes me very upset because I cannot hold a conversation with someone who is genuinely interested in arts. So you got that? Arts is something that is not that related to your job. And the interviewer will be kind of amazed at this response because you have just told them your weakness, and that's true and honest, and that does not raise a red flag. So do not raise a red flag in this type of questions. Of course, tell me about a time when you. So it's a real behavior test, and we'll give you a framework called STAR to answer to this question. And the last one, where do you see yourself in X years? So it's to test your ambition. You want to be ambitious, and zoom out if needed, and share your plans related to your profession. So the framework, when they ask, tell me about yourself when, tell me about a time when, answer it in the STAR framework. S, situation, set the scene, start the story. T, the task, what you had to do at the time. A, action, what you actually did. R, result, the outcome, what happened, and quantify it. It always matter. It's a matter of quantification. If you cannot integrate numbers to your answers, that cannot really show the impact. So that's why always show the impact through quantities. And you don't want to be telling a novel or a life story. That's why I always would recommend to keep it below 1.5 minutes. You don't want to be telling them a long novel which will bore, which will be very boring, and which will not be, impactful or memorable at all. And I would say the strongest type of people are those who can tell stories. So learn storytelling before you get into any type of interviews or conversations. And there has been lots of research in it. Stories are more memorable than plain facts. Let's test it. You have all studied geography at your high school. Tell me 10 facts about India. Can you? Pause the video and try to remember without any AI or Google. Try to remember 10 facts about India, the nation, its GDP, its territory, its history, maybe. Can you? No, you can't because you were told to memorize the facts. But on the other hand, you clearly remember the stories that you read passionately in literature classes. Why is that? Because stories are 22 times memorable than plain facts that mean nothing to your brain. So that's why you need to learn storytelling to be memorable. And now it is your time to practice it. And to practice it, you gotta shoot a video. So open up your phone, fire up your laptop, and look at the camera and pick a question. Ask it out loud. You need to hear it. Do not ask it in your head. You need to hear it. Pick the question and then draft it in your star. First, do it on notes, on Notion, or maybe on a piece of paper. That doesn't matter. Draft it and make sure that it's not a long response and say it out loud. You can read it too. At the first try, that's totally fine. You can read it to the camera, and you have to fix the parts of your draft where you struggled, where you mumbled or rambled. That will be a big of a mistake if you went on the interview and ramble and try to find the right word. That will not be a big of good impression. So that's why always before you get into your interview, do use pencil and put it horizontally into your mouse and read a book or practice a response that will train your muscles to speak better, to to have a deeper voice, a clearer voice. So you got to be trying it, and that's the number one tip that I would give to anyone who has monotonous type of voice. I used to have it, but I got rid of it by practicing public speaking, especially. And your greatest weakness, the trap question, um, as I told, it should be honest. Like an example, the art, or maybe it can be a game. Maybe you can admit that you cannot play computer games, or maybe you cannot play chess well. But it shouldn't be job critical. You got that? It shouldn't show you as someone who is incompetent. And tell them, what did you do about it? All right. So an issue. You have an issue, which is the weakness. What did you do to solve it? Did you go to a museum if you didn't have the appreciation of art? What did you do? And where are you right now? So how did you resolve that weakness? Did you grow out of it? And you got to be ticking all of these boxes. For example, public speaking used to be my bottleneck, my shortcoming. I would stay quiet even when I had something to add. So I started presenting at student club every day. I still over prepare, but now I'm comfortable in front of the room, in front of the audience, no matter what size it is. You got to be showing the growth at the end. And preparation is the number one differentiator. Your prep is mandatory. That's why. Always research the company's mission, the product, the recent news, and look at their role. Who are they looking for? If possible, find someone at that company and ask, what are you looking for? What does the culture look like? And research your interviewer. Pick their LinkedIn. I'm not telling you to stalk them, but do some kind of a background check. And you need to make sure that you are ready to adapt. You are maybe AI educated. You know how to use AI correctly. So you have to show what stands you out. So that's your mock round. Pause the video and answer. Ask yourself two out of five of those questions and record your voice. Limit your answers to 90 seconds and then wait. And then wait, pause the video, rewatch it, and give a feedback to yourself. Make sure that your voice is clear. Make sure that your response is structured and specific. You will not be telling something of generic, right? We don't want generic responses. And before you speak, remember that there are some behaviors, nonverbal behaviors that can signal who you are. First, eye contact. I would have rejected most applicants who couldn't hold an eye to my eye. You should be able to look in the eye, look to the face. If you are shy, then fix it. Because eye contact, as you know, obviously, will signal confidence. Second, posture and energy. Sit up when the interviewer comes to you. You gotta be sitting up, not sitting down. So let's say you went into the hall and you are waiting the interview to start. You should be waiting standing up. That's what I learned from Stanford Graduate School of Business. They basically described the type of interviews that were successful and failed. That's why you gotta be standing up, and that creates a good connection with your interviewer because he or she will be coming up to you standing up, right? Sitting up. And when you sit down, you gotta be leaning in. You shouldn't overlook at something. You shouldn't roll your eyes over the room. And you should stay present by reacting using your emotions. And do not rush. If you rush, that will signal that you have over prepared. And always put a bigger smile onto your face. I know it might feel forced, but it's better than nothing. And there are a couple of mistakes that you can make. First, do not ramble. If you don't have any preparation, you will ramble. So without prep, you cannot ace it. If you do not do your research, that's clearly a red flag. If you say right to their face that you don't know much about them, that will get you rejected. And do not really talk bad about your previous job or your school. That shows that you are not grateful. Is this the quality of human being? No. And when they say, "Do you have any questions for them?" Ask something thoughtful. But if you say no, that will seem as if you are not interested in knowing them. If they ask a question, if they ask you to ask a question, then ask something smart. Maybe ask, what are the type of candidates who succeeded in this business? With this question, you will already shown that you are gonna prepare for that type of bar, you know. Ask some kind of a question that shows you that you are already preparing for that job, as if you have already gained admission. So you be thoughtful and formulate some questions before you get it. So I'll give you a to-do list this week. Please record a mock interview with a friend. Maybe you can film 5 questions on your phone and analyze your answers to it. And watch yourself, okay? After recording it, it shouldn't be boiling down in the corner of your gallery. It should be watched, and it should be watched by you. And always, you might want to post it in Telegram or in Instagram and tag us, and that will be a good of nice of sign that you have done the job. So remember 3 things. If there should exist anything that you can take away, it's this. First, you are judged early. So open, strong, and stay present throughout the interview. Do not be let down, do not be demotivated, and do not be sad, please. And structure every answer. Always use numbers while showing your impact. And however talented you are, if you don't prepare, you will fail. That's what I would tell. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, and I hope that it was very useful.